Stanley still is an attempt to tell the story of Scotland over a period of 60 years, really from just after the Second World War to the early part of the 21st century. And it covers a huge range of changes in that period. Political changes, social changes, cultural changes, changes in relationships between men and women. And to tell this story, I created a really big cast of characters. And the stories of these characters spread over 6 decades. And we meet the men and women who are living in the 1950s, but we also meet their children and even their grandchildren as the story progresses. Through these fictional characters, I wanted to tell a real story, which is the story of how Scotland has changed in that period. Like lots of other countries in Europe and in fact throughout the whole world, Scotland has changed enormously in that period. And some of those changes are similar in different countries. For example, Scotland has become a post-industrial country. In some respects, it's become a post-religious country. And people have changed the way they go to work. They've changed the things that they do when they're not at work. And all of these things are similar to the way that changes have happened in other countries, but every country has its own particular ways that these changes have affected people's lives. And I wanted to explore the story from a particularly Scottish dimension. So the book starts actually in 2008 with a young man who's a photographer, and he's creating an exhibition of his father's photographs. His father was also a photographer, and the photographs are a way into telling this story. In fact, photography and music are kind of themes that flow all the way through the book. And I use music and pictures to try to illustrate the story that I'm telling through words as well. And the photographic exhibition that is mentioned at the start of the book appears again at the end. And in between those two episodes is the rest of the story. And the story moves back and forth in time from, as I say, from the 1950s right through until not quite the present day, but until about 2008. And in that time, these fictional characters, they have political changes in their lives. They have changes to everything, really. They meet people, they fall in love, they fall out of love. They have children, their children meet other people. And Scotland's a very small country. And as happens in real life, these people in my novel meet each other at different times of their lives, and their lives are interconnected all the way through the book. And towards the end of the book, some of those threads begin to be drawn together. There's one political theme that runs all the way through the book, and I think that's about the clash between a kind of politics based upon class and a politics based on a sense of identity. There are two men who are friends. One is called Don and one is called Jack, and they have both been soldiers during the Second World War and both come home again. And Don is committed to socialism. He believes that that's the way forward for his society. Jack is more committed towards Scottish nationalism. He believes that that's the future. He looks at other countries around the world who are achieving their independence, and he thinks that it's time for Scotland to do the same thing. And although they're friends, they argue and disagree about these two routes forward quite vehemently. But Don is more resilient than Jack. He's there throughout the whole book. He changes his views a little bit, but he's also a man who has a sort of certain amount of, he is resilient all the way through the book. He grows, but he also has certain principles that he keeps to. Jack isn't so able to adjust to life after the war, and in fact he goes missing, and I don't want to give too much away in this interview, but he goes missing and people actually think he's dead, but he's not dead. He's haunting the novel as a kind of missing person. He's almost like a ghost in the story, and he represents to some extent people's connection with the land, which is there all the way through the book. Although many people have left the land and gone to live in the cities, he still feels a strong connection with the land. And there are other people in the book, other characters in the book, who come and go as the story progresses over this long period of time. There's a man called Peter Bond, for example, who looks back over his life. He's an alcoholic. He looks back through a haze of heavy drinking at where things have gone wrong in his life. But he has been involved in the Secret Service, and he's been sent by the Secret Service to spy on the rise of nationalism in Scotland. And he finds this very difficult, and this is one of the reasons why he gets into the bad drinking habits that he develops. But he's there also as a kind of a theme running under the rest of the story. I wanted to show that actually when a state, any state, finds itself threatened by a new political movement, it always responds by trying to defend itself. And there are other people who get caught up in that situation as well. There's a big cast, and there's a big cast of minor characters as well. And some of those I feel are the ones that maybe people would relate to even more than some of the main characters. They have smaller parts to play, but I hope that they will be instantly recognizable. And it doesn't really matter if you're Scottish or not. I think they're people who exist in all societies.